Well, today is August 4th, which is Thursday, and we all know what that means. But however, Thursday is a little different now. If you guys know this or not, once again for the third week in a row, we did not have MLW. I don't know what's going on in that front. I have been not keeping tabs, but I've been distracted anyway. I cannot figure out why there hasn't been an MLW, but I will figure that out. But that doesn't mean I cannot review for all of you. So what we have today of course, is NXT UK. As you know, is supposed to have the NXT Women's Championship matchup, but apparently things did not go according to plan for them. Um, a big announcement coming from the Czar, Ilya Dragunov, and plenty more. But also, we have a special AEW Elevation with 4 matches. If you guys heard or not, well, apparently Madison Rain made her appearance on Elevation. As you know, she is the head coach, and I'm really happy. We have some interesting matches that they had here. Also, we got Impact Wrestling. As you know, we're now on the way to Emergence. We're going to see some amazing matches that are going to be taking place. Also, we're going to do a small discussion about Saya Kamitani, something that kind of got into my attention. As you guys know, she already had some very highly successful defenses, but however, she has a very interesting goal in mind. A goal I feel that we could see happen. But also, we got some interesting news updates that I really want to share. What's been going on in the world of pro wrestling? So, let's get ready with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with NXT UK, as you all may want to know about. Well, it's opened up with, of course, Ilya Dragunov. He came out in crutches. Now, that was a very interesting development that took place. It was told by Ilya that apparently he had to relinquish the NXT UK Championship due to the injury he obtained last week against Wolfgang. Now, I know this is a huge disappointing for many fans who are big Ilya Dragunov fans, but you know how it is. Doctors told them they cannot continue, but they have to recover. So the only option that right now Dragunov decided to do is to relinquish the title. Now, however, what does this mean for NXT UK? Well, we did hear from Johnny Saint and his assistant, Sid Scala, that they announced an 8-man tournament to determine a brand new NXT UK champion. It begins next week. Now, our first the, then we our first match, we have Oliver Carter versus Rohan Raja. Now, keep in mind, Oliver Carter has been the target of the Familia for quite some time, ever since Carter and Smith relinquished the NXT UK tag team titles due to the fact that Smith got injured. But later, we all know what happened. The Familia tried to recruit him. He had no intentions in joining them, but he began a one-man war against them. So he decided to challenge Rohan Raja. As you know, became a 3-on-1 scenario because you know that Dempsey and Tailman will be watching. But somehow, Carter was able to walk out as the victor, but without the price being paid, where he was attacked by Dempsey in order to do that. But however, we weren't sure how his leg was going to be. Apparently, he said he was fine. And that's when Sid Scala, as you know, comes out saying that he will be facing Charlie Dempsey in the tournament for the NXT Championship. Now, this is a huge opportunity for him. So he knows that there's a possibility, because of what transpire, things change. But he will not turn away from that, which is good. As you know, he has to move forward with his own career while he awaits the return of Ashton Smith. However, as you all know, the family seems like they're happy. Even though the fact that they lost, they feel that the beatdown was more than enough as a win for them. But Sam Gradwell wasn't even having it one way or the other. Now, as you know, we saw Chase U University making their way all over London, visiting sites. However, apparently during the entire time, Bodie Hayward got his big fat mouth in a big load of trouble. Apparently, as you all know, Shaw Samuels has been, how do I say, on the lowest of the low since he had to pay back all the money from his bookings. As you know, he became rich because he predicted that Noam Dar was going to win. But what happened is Mark Coffey defeated Noam Dar for the NXT UK Heritage Cup. So he ended up in a match against Bodie Hayward. Now, speaking of Chase U, as you know, Hell has always been a full supporter of Chase U ever since then. But Eliza Alexander, Brookside's friend and muscle, decided to say that it's a little crap. But Hale, as you know, she was not going to have it. But Eliza Alexander claims that she's going to make a name for himself. But we'll get to that in a bit. Now, as I mentioned before, Bodie Hayward got his big fat mouth in a load of trouble. He ended up in the match against Shaw Samuels. Now, you can say Bodie Hayward seems like he had everything under his control in the match. But however, somehow, someway, Shaw Samuels was able to pick up a win. Now, this would be a good start for him, but however, this is only one of many. As you know, he lost everything because of the bets, but we'll see what happens then. Now, let's talk about this interesting development. Now, we were supposed to have Meiko Satomura, who is the current NXT UK Women's Champion, to take on Saray. While that was happening, looks like it did not happen. Blair Davenport shows up, demanded that she's be the one to challenge Meiko Satomura. Now, however, Amel doesn't believe that she earned the right to do that. But Davenport pleaded her case, saying she should have been champion already if it wasn't for that injury she obtained. Now, it's a matter of fact. We don't know for sure if that would have happened. But of course, we had people that are determining that they should be the ones to challenge Meiko Satomura. We had not only just Davenport and Amel, we had Eliza Alexander and Isla Dawn. Now, Sid Scala, as you know, tried to control the situation as possible, but he decided to make Isla Dawn and Blair Davenport, who are already in wrestling gear, a #1 contendership. However, this match ended up in no contest because we saw Amel and Alexander show up. They're trying to plead their case that they should be the ones challenging for the title. However, things are not looking good for that. So if I was Sid Scala, I'd find a solution. So this is going to be a very difficult thing, but exciting to see who will be the one. Now, however, all except for Eliza Alexander, they were unable to dethrone the final boss. So hopefully Sid Scala finds a solution. But we'll just gotta wait and see next week. But right now, let's move on to the AEW Elevation Special. Okay, now, as you know, we were supposed to have MLW, but nope. But good thing I found this on YouTube and decided to replace it with that for the time being until something happens with MLW. Now, as you guys know, Madison Rayne is the brand new AEW Women's Division coach. I'm excited. You guys are excited. She even made her appearance as a commentator with Tony Schiavone and Mark Henry. So she gets to witness a very interesting match that she knows about. Emi Sakura, the master, versus her student, Hikaru Shida. Now, as you know, Madison Rayne is looking into these women, what great competitors they are. Now, as we may follow or not on Twitter, Emi Sakura did declare, saying that Hikaru Shida had never beaten her before. Now, sometimes we have witnessed where the master always beat the student, but in some cases, we do see the student somehow surpasses the master. And that's exactly what Hikaru Shida does. She never gives up. She's the one person who has saying never say die, that sort of attitude. And that helped when she applied a knee strike onto her. Now, she was unable to apply the Falcon Arrow due to a back situation, but she did that knee strike that she normally did in the past. And of course, that spinning roundhouse kick that always seems to work. And 1, 2, 3, good night. Now, as soon as Hikaru Shida was celebrating her moment, all of a sudden, Jade Cargill, as you know, she's trying to act like she thinks she runs the place. And of course, Stokely Hathaway, who is dumb as hell, decided, to say that Madison Rayne will never challenge for the TBS title. But Madison Rayne told both of them, saying that she's not only just a wrestling coach, she's also an in-ring competitor. And of course, because Jade Cargill was dumb enough to open her big fat mouth saying that, introduce herself, she just became the upcoming opponent for Madison Rayne. But however, Stokely Hathaway does not want this, so he decided to send the new baddie. Well, Jade Cargill will never see her as a baddie, but let's see if she pulls it off. Layla Gray to deal with her on Rampage. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Serpentico along with Luther to take on the debut of the Southern Psycho, Manswarner. Yeah, if you guys know this or not, he is announced for Rampage, where he'll be challenging Jon Moxley. I'm kind of excited for that, but I suspected things were gonna go Manswarner's way because Manswarner, he doesn't give a damn. He's all there about kicking ass, drinking light beer. That's who he is. And if you guys know this or not, AEW has had interest in having Manswarner join. And I'm like, I knew about that, but I don't know for sure if he will be able to do it full time. That is still unclear about that. But the match was great, but it fell in favor of Manswarner. Now, our final match, we have tag team action. We have, of course, Josh Woods and Tony Nese, who've been formed. As you know, they've recently attacked Swerve in Our Glory, sending a direct message that they could be the possible opponents for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Their opponents is Damian Chambers and Dean Alexander. Now, however, this is going to end badly for Alexander and Chambers. They just became mincemeat for Woods and Nese. They became a formidable duo, thanks to the genius of none other than Sterling himself. So we'll see what happens then. We still yet to see what's going to happen between these two taking on Swerve in Our Glory. So right now, let's move on to our final review, which is, of course, Impact Wrestling. Okay, our last review, Impact Wrestling. Now, it opened up with Deonna Purrazzo taking on Rosemary. Now, keep in mind, Deonna Purrazzo, along with her best friend Chelsea Green, they have a tag team title opportunity against Rosemary and, of course, Taya Valkyrie. However, it appears that Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie have contempt with the newly changed Havoc, who now goes by Jessica. Now, you can say that there is a bit of that evilness left in her, but I don't know. She completely messed up the match in favor of Deonna Purrazzo. But however, apparently, it was like, okay, Rosemary was not happy how this goes. However, we did not anticipate Jessica's transformation. But she's willing to prove herself that she can hang with those two. So that's going to be a little interesting to see. I mean, I'm sure everybody's having a little fun. Now, as you know, Honor No More, they have been complaining, bitching, moaning about everything they have transpired. Now, keep in mind, Scott D'Amore put them in an emergence in a match. If they beat the Bullet Club, they get Taven and Bennett will get their tag team opportunity. However, if they don't, they are now going to be disbanded. However, leader Eddie Edwards has little concerns over PCO, but Vincent, who has now recently been on the defense with PCO, told him that he cannot screw up the main event against Doc Gallows. So that kind of turns it in a motivation. Now, as you know, the Digital Media Championship has been on the line. Um, Brian Myers, who's been ducking Dupender Gurger, decided to give it to Black Taurus, but the so-called professional wrestler once again cheated by using the ropes. Referee did not see it, but his ass was handed back to the bull by Dupender Gurger, sending a message to Brian Myers. Now this time we'll see what happens. If Brian Myers has any pair, he has to put the title on the line. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gurger had to go up and tell them more to put the match, which of course Myers will not take that kindly. But we'll see what happens. Now, Jordan Grace, as you know, will be facing Mia Yim in Emergence for the Knockouts Championship. However, she did say some few things. One, she said that she totally respects Mia Yim, but however, every opponent that Grace has faced is either an enemy or fate or a friend. However, she treats everyone who ever comes across her in the ring the same. But she did declare that Mia Yim is nothing more than an obstacle. So basically, she is okay with the whole idea of what's been going on, but we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Giselle Shaw versus Masha Slamovich. Now, keep in mind, Masha has been hunting for Giselle Shaw. Shaw has been ducking her the entire time. Now, I have to say, many people thought in this match was amazing because we would have saw maybe Giselle Shaw would have been the one to defeat the undefeated Masha Slamovich, but no. Giselle Shaw didn't make it through, so she got clobbered out, and Masha won the match. So yeah, but it was a good one. The real question is, can we see Masha go for the Knockouts Championship? I would say, I hope so. So we'll see what happens there. Now, speaking of the Knockouts, we have Mia Yim, as you know. She actually says a few words towards Jordan Grace that she's been an obstacle her life and all this, but once again the party was interrupted by Madison Rayne, someone that of course Mia Yim is familiarized, and here comes Gail Kim, who reminisces the past and decides that next week Mia Yim will be in a match against Madison Rayne, which of course Rayne does not like. But yeah. Now, as you know, our next match we have Violent by Design, Diener and Joe Dorian taking on the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Keep in mind the Motor City Machine Guns are now in the path of Violent by Design, who are now trying to get rid of the sickness. Now the match was pretty good. However, it was Motor City Machine Guns that walked out as the victor, but Joe Dorian did not take that too kindly and attacked Motor City Machine Guns until Kushida came out to save both the Machine Guns. But unfortunately, Kushida was attacked by none other than the leader of Violent by Design, Eric Young. And I thought we could see a bit of a war between these two teams. Now, as you know, because of what happened, Machine Guns and Kushida, as you know, will be taking on, Alex Shelley will be in his match against Josh Alexander, but we'll see what happens then. So, but Alexander told Alex Shelley to be at his best before Emergence, and then all of a sudden, Eddie Edwards of Honor No More shows up, tries to mesmerize him, like trying to convince him, saying that, of course, that everything that he said was right, all of this and that, like trying to say to side with him, but Alexander will not do that. He is completely loyal to Impact. But I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Edwards goes for the title. Now, our next match, we have Raj Singh versus Sami Callihan. Well, This is payback for what happened last time, but Raj Singh did not. He ended up in the wrong side of a chokehold. He had no other choice but to tap out. But however, Sammy called out Moose, and then here comes Macklin out of nowhere. But the thing is, it's still unclear. Now, there are those who are saying the Macklin and Moose are working together. It's still unconfirmed exactly. Now, we don't know exactly. Moose is not the easiest person to become friends with. But whatever the case is, we don't know. Now, those who may have seen Killer Kelly making her appearances, well, look no further. She will have her debut match starting next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tasha Steelz wants to get up and close personal to check out someone who she thinks has no right being there. Now, our main event, we have PCO versus Doc Gallows. Oh my goodness, this match went through hell with all the amazing toys they had outside. And I thought it was nuts. But I was very much surprised how things have been going. I saw PCO putting himself to every situation, but it was him who picked up the win against Doc Gallows by using a bag of thumbtacks on the chest of Doc Gallows that gave him the win. So Honor No More could have built up the momentum before Emergence, but we just gotta wait and see until that day happens. So I think that's pretty much it with our review. So let's do our little small discussion about Saya Kamitani's goal as the white belt champion.
Get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the stage, and across the nation. And it's a sin, the cops, the fake, the fraud, the messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it on. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Move it to the music, yeah. Move to my music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah. Now get the guns, the drums from my generation. I'll take the fall, the stage, and across the nation. And it's the sex, the gods, the freaks, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it on. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Move it to the music, yeah. Move to my music, play that fucking music. Live through my music.
Okay, so welcome to the DWZ discussions. As you know, I talked about Saya Kamitani. Now, certain things about Kamitani has come into my attention about her. As you know, she has been highly successful in retaining the Wonder of Stardom Championship, aka the white belt. Now, if you guys remember, she won this belt against her former mentor, Tam Nakano, the leader of Cosmic Angels. She has so far had defended it proudly against anybody like Natsupoi, Utami Ishida, Tam Nakano, who else? Mirai, and then recently Starlight Kid. Oh yeah, and Unagi Sayaka. So basically, she has 6 consecutive defenses. However, her ultimate goal is something I did not see, but it makes sense. Her goal is to outbeat the record of Momo Watanabe's record. Now, some of you who are new, you ask, what is Momo Watanabe's defense record? She has about 11 title defense record. So basically, right now, Kamitani has 6. If she can reach 5, she'll be tied. However, if she can add another victory in that record, she can beat out Momo Watanabe. Now, it's still unclear who, as you know, she has for this later on this month of August. She faces someone who is familiarized with this title, and that is none other than the Pirate Princess Kairi, who is now the next challenger. Now, Kairi, as you know, Kamitani is a bit under pressure and a bit nervous knowing that she's facing against a competitor who has a bit higher caliber. Now, some of you are questioning, we could never know if she could make it that far. Well, that's true. But there is a scenario that does tell me there is a possibility that once Kamitani reaches defense number 11, Well, there is the scenario that Momo Watanabe will do whatever it takes to stop that momentum and that record. Now, you're probably asking yourselves in it, why is that important? Let me explain. There's two examples I want to explain it for everyone. The first one I witnessed this is a couple years ago with Kaguchika Okada. Now, keep in mind, Okada was one of the longest reigning IWGP Heavyweight Champions. Now, the longest, the 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 biggest record for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship was 11, and that person who hold that record was none other than the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, when Okada was still champion before losing the title to Kenny Omega, he reached that number. He was tied with Tanahashi, and he's determined to break the record. But here comes the Ace himself, Tanahashi, who is determined to stop him in his tracks. So he became the next challenger, and of course, unfortunately, Tanahashi lost, giving Okada the 12th victory defense. Now, I also saw this with Cosmic Angels with the three founders, Mina, Unagi, and Tam, had the most consecutive victories, beating out Stars. They wanted to go a bit more further. Now, they had Donna DeMondo, who tried to stop them in their tracks, but they ended up in a draw. And then, of course, Odatai tried that too, until once again we went back to Donna DeMondo with Hime Poi. This is before Poi made her decision to betray DDM. They were able to stop them in their tracks. But Hime Poi tried to do the same thing as well, but they were stopped in their tracks by the Resident Cat, Starlight Kid, which she successfully did it, not once, but twice. And now, that kind of whole thing. Now, imagine that with Momo Watanabe. Imagine her, who has been a self-recognized champion. Now, we will never forget how she beat Io Shirai for that title. And she has been one of the most highly decorated wrestlers. Now, some of you probably question, but J-Rod, isn't she, her objective now should be the red belt? True. But this is her legacy. This is something I believe Momo Watanabe will not tolerate with Kamitani. Try to break her record. So if she does do that, we will see those two come about trying to stop it. Now, if Kamitani succeeds, she will be even more higher than what Momo Watanabe was back then. So that is something we can definitely see. So if I were you guys, pay attention closely. So we'll see what happens. So if she gets number 7 on the 21st of August against Kairi Sane, then that is the sign saying she's willing to go all the way to pass the record. So I hope everybody got that information right. Hopefully you guys can understand this whole concept. I'm kind of curious to see how far Kamitani can go. If she reaches it, it's awesome. Going to be awesome. But right now, let's just focus on her match coming up on the 21st. But let's just end the entire episode with the last thing we're going to do, and that is news updates. Okay, so our last thing we're going to do is news updates. Right now we have 2 developments. The first one is coming from Pro Wrestling Noah. As you know, like what we have with Stardom and New Japan, they started their annual tournaments, which is of course the G1 and the 5-Star Grand Prix. Well, Noah very soon will begin with theirs, which is the N1 Victory. It's the same kind of concept that those 2 promotions have. Point-based system. So it's going to be awesome. But however, I still haven't figured out who will be participating yet, or if I missed it. But it was told that Timothy Thatcher was amongst the wrestlers that were already been booked to be part of this tournament. However, he has been pulled from the tournament due to visa issues. Now, this is the same kind of situation we witnessed with Will Nightingale, who's been having visa issues to go to Tokyo Pro, but hopefully Thatcher can make it back for another opportunity. But it's still unclear whether he's going to be replaced. Now, our final update here, as you all may or may not have been aware or been following, Maki Itoh has been making headways wherever she goes, making appearances in anywhere in North America. You know, we've seen her in AEW, Prestige, well, apparently Canadian promotion, Nation Extreme Wrestling, or as we call it, NEW or New, has announced that Maki Itoh will be making her debut on their first anniversary show, and I believe that's going to take place soon. Her first opponent, apparently, it's going to be great. She's a Canadian native, and you guys know her as Mrs. Cardona, Chelsea Green. So this is a very interesting thing. I'm trying to remember. Hold on, let me look up what date that match is going to be. Wrote it down on another page. Oh, I don't have it anymore. It's gone. So anyway, yeah. So I'll keep a prize on that match. It's going to be very interesting. Now, if I don't see it, then that's my bad. But I will follow it on Twitter as much as possible. So I think that's pretty much it. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, just recently found out that we're gonna have continuation with the G1 with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm excited for that, and of course, we cannot forget AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. I'm still debating whether if I should throw in another show that I may not seen yet, but that will be decided maybe later until I start filming and then editing and the whole enchilada. And if there's any news updates, I will be posting those soon. But for right now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang, bang.